Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to the Bluebirds Nest, episode 73 of our podcast series, the first one of the new year, and it's a former club number one who's joining me this week. Having signed for Haverfordwest County in 2003, this week's guest went on to play over 130 times for the Bluebirds and was indeed the man between the sticks in the infamous UEFA Cup adventure back in 2004. I've heard a range of anecdotes and stories over the years about him, so it's great to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, I think, Mr. Lee Kendall to the Nest. Lee, great to have you on. How are you doing?
Right, how you doing, mate? No, it's been obviously a long time coming to get on, mate, especially trying to get through the technical difficulties of getting on tonight. So, pleasure to be on and looking forward to reminiscing on a great time down at Haverfordwest.
Yeah, a fantastic career you've had, both as a player and a coach, which you continue to do. We'll come on to that. But you've worked with top clubs in Wales and even some national teams as well. We'll hopefully get around to it all. But firstly, start you with your footballing journey then. I know you came up through the ranks. I was looking back at your history. You were well represented at national honours as well, at pretty much every youth level. I think you captained a few teams as well. So going back to the very start, you had a great role model to follow in the footsteps of, obviously, your dad, Mark Kendall, ex-Spurs, Wolves, Newport County, to name a few. Great goalkeeper. So was it in your blood? Was it always the plan to be a goalkeeper, or did it just sort of happen along the way?
Oh, I think naturally, you look up to your parents, don't you, when you're younger, and I think my dad was trying to edge me away from standing between the sticks because of the type of job it is, and to be fair, when I first started playing, we're actually living in Telford when my dad was at Wolves. We had 3 years up there before we moved back to Wales. But it was I played in goals in a 10-minute match, and this is how it went. It was basically you were too young to play for the under-10s, so sort of that was how young they started them. But they give you 10 minutes at the end with like all the waifs and strays that would come along and just play in a game. And I went in goals. I think it was 8 years old when my first game, and played in big goals with no nets. It was brilliant. And I think my dad sort of edged me away from that then. And so when we came back to live in Wales, I ended up starting up playing for Kevin Forest, which is my local team, and played as a centre mid. And I think slowly but surely worked my way backwards because I think my pace wasn't great. And I just wanted to try and emulate what my dad did really, and sort of really enjoyed being between the sticks then. And had a good role model and a good coach and a good mentor behind me. People said recently, I spoke to someone over Christmas, that they would see me in the same place on the same field. My dad smashing balls at me morning, noon, and night in the dark, in the lights. Rain and shine, whatever it looked like. And it was just one of those things that, he enjoyed doing, looking after me, but he never pushed me into it. Neither did he try to push me into football. But obviously, back in those days, it was either football or rugby. And I certainly picked the right side ball or shape ball anyway, for me anyway.
Fantastic. Well, like you said there, great upbringing, and opportunity came. I think you were about 17 when you signed for Crystal Palace. You had 2 years there. What was life like as a young goalie then, learning the game at that level with those clubs as well?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it was very much different to what it is right now. With the academy structure, there wasn't that around, and there were a lot of scouts and a lot of sort of these centre of excellences that cropped up all over the place that different clubs were running. And it started off actually. I went to Norwich as a kid, as a 14-year-old, and trialed there, and they had a little development centre in Caldicot. And I remember with Craig Bellamy was there, Chris Llewellyn, who's at Britain Ferry now, a couple of other Welsh lads that were around the area, and we trained. And then sort of things picked up from there. Then different clubs trialed that, and I was lucky enough to go up to Crystal Palace as a 15-year-old, as a schoolboy back and forth. Peter Nicholas, who obviously became my manager eventually, twice in my career, or 3 times, should I say, in my career, was the youth team manager. And obviously I started with Wales under 15s, and that gathered a bit of speed and managed to captain them a few times. And I ended up signing for them when I left school and went off to the big lights of London.
Yeah, like I said, 2 years up in the city lights of London, soon returning to Cardiff. And then the move into what was the League of Wales then back in the day, was it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was funny. There was a couple of bits in between that, but it was more importantly was Cardiff. There was a bit in between where I went on loan to Barry. So I was 19. So I was a first-year pro. Barry had just qualified for the UEFA Cup the year before, and Pete Nicholas was my youth team manager the year before. And then he left Crystal Palace and went to Barry as manager. And his first signing was me on loan. So I don't know whether he liked me or just I picked him up from the pub when he'd had a few beers. Probably the latter, but like Pete was big, quite influential in my career. He made that move for me. It was a bold move for him, really, to bring a 19-year-old player into a team that was he was bringing together. We played Boa Vista in the UEFA Cup. I just turned 19, and it was my first professional sort of debut. We lost 2-0 out there, and I think we lost 3-1 at home. So, but again, a real big opportunity for me. And then I played the rest of that season up until Christmas, and I was very lucky that obviously the League of Wales at the time was quite well documented, and I was playing a lot of games on Friday nights and stuff. And Bobby Gould came to a lot of games, and he was the manager of Cardiff at the time. When Summer Man was chairman, and he was trying to build a Welsh group. You had Rhys Weston, Kevin Evans, Martin Giles, Youngie, all these players that had been around the place at Cardiff, and was trying to build more of a Welsh-based team. And they ended up putting a bid in for me. I was disappointed to leave Barry because I was playing first team football regularly. It was also Boa Vista at the time. The team we played against had also put a bid in for me, which was strange. Wow. So I either had Cardiff or Boa Vista in Portugal. Cardiff, but again, it's my hometown team. Yeah. It's the team I supported as a kid, and I knew a lot of people there, and it meant I could live at home in Blackwood, which was good, being close to my parents and stuff. And that took off from there. And to be fair, I played 3 or 4 first team games there. Really didn't take off for me. I actually went on loan to Haverfordwest for one game when John Lewis was manager. And had a game. I don't know if you knew that, but and I got injured. Kevin Druids away, and then came back, and that's how I got the new Derrin, because Derrin was playing in the team, and then I had a short spell for 6 months when I left Cardiff at Shrewsbury, and it just wasn't getting in the team. We beat Everton in the FA Cup. Rooney, I think, scored played in his first game for Everton in that game, and we beat Everton. And then after the Christmas period, I just wasn't playing, and I just wanted to play. And I knew that Haverfordwest was sort of interested, and it just meant I could go and step back into the sort of non-league. But I was struggling with a bit of a back problem, and always sort of struggle with it. I thought the non-league might take a little bit of the hit off my back problem, and it certainly did that. And I signed for Haverfordwest then in 2003, and the first game was Llanelli at home.
Yeah, we had Derrin with Tim Hicks actually a couple of months ago now, chatting about that era, and he said, he went into his black book of contacts and pulled in who he thought would really suit the club. So you'd obviously made an impact in your one initial appearance. Let's come on to that. In 2003-2004 season, Derrin in charge. Many people say that year's success was obviously built. It ended with UEFA Cup tie, but it was built on a solid defensive foundations. I think it was just 4 losses all season. I think Mickey's told me many times in the past about that year. I think it was only about 20 goals all season that you conceded. To be fair, when I think about it now, almost on a par with how this season's going with us. But let's begin with some of those stories. I've been told from that era, there must have been some characters in that dressing room, full of great people there. What memories have you got from that league season?
No, but I've got to say the season before it, when I came in for the half season, we were in relegation. We were in relegation trouble. Derrin put together a good group that kept the team up, and we stayed up convincingly in the end. But I mean, he grew that team over the summer, and that season was just something which I didn't even expect. You've gone from relegation the year before potentially to then qualifying for Europe, and there's just so many stories about that year. It was incredible. I mean, our back line was just solid, and you had people in that team that you wouldn't even think were deservedly of playing in Europe, and that's no disrespect. People like Rob Jones and people like that were just young players that had come through the ranks, and had been thrown in. Dylan Blaine, young lad, come in and he was in and around it. But then he shored it up with solid players. Like Colin Loss, Darren Ryan, Wolsey, Darren, Eston, just people. Just the list goes on. Griff, people who are been involved in football in Welsh football for a long, long time. And Lee John was part of that as well. I always remember we had and it was my doing actually. We it wasn't so much as it was iTunes now or whatever they use now, or playlists, CD. I can't remember the song, but I'm sure the boys do. But I was always the DJ, and I think it was, I can't even remember. I'd be lying if I said it was. But we played this song over and over again, and it was on repeat. And we went on something like, I think it was like a 14-game unbeaten run at one point. And I remember Lee John, we played Port Talbot away on a Friday night, and we playing the song, and he's got, I can't deal with this song anymore. He was like, and we ended up getting beat. And Johnsy was the only one with a smile on his face. He came in, took the CD out of the player, broke it, and threw it out the window. And he said, "Right, now we've got that defeat out the way. We don't have to listen to that, but we can carry on now. Carry on and try and win some games." So, no, that season was just, again, fantastic. I think, you look at it and you go, we were a team of misfits, really. Like, we had players from all over the place.
Yeah.
You had your local Pembrokeshire lads. You had your Cardiff boys. You had your Swansea lads. You had a few others chucked in from all around the place. And when you look at it, really, it shouldn't be achieved. It's been done again, obviously, in the Welsh Cymru Prem since, teams have qualified for Europe. But based on where they were the season before and like their background, it shouldn't really have been done. But yeah, it was just amazing. I mean, I always remember the last game when we won up at Carnarvon away. Again, we scored. We won 1-0, I think it was.
Yeah, just got the goal, I think.
Just got the goal, yeah. But this is how together the group was. It was just a mental, because we used to travel from, you have a car from Cardiff, car from Swansea, then you have a minibus from Haverfordwest. And I always remember it was quite serious in the end, but it was quite funny at the start. I mean, John turned up and he used to drive up, and Craig and Marcus used to sit in the front. And obviously they're dedicated supporters, but they used to bicker all the time, And I always remember, like, they were starting on each other when we walked in, and I said, "What's the matter, boys?" Because Marcus, like, I really used to spend a lot of time with Marcus and Craig. And I said, "What's the matter now?" He said, "Kens," Craig said to me, "Kens," he said, "Marcus said that when we get back to the Pembroke dock, he's going to throw me in the dock." So, "Oh, don't be so stupid. He won't do that." He said, "It's okay for you, Kens. You could swim." So he's like, and we were there. I was like, "Oh my gosh." So anyway, but then just before the game, an hour before, Marcus suffered with epilepsy, and he had a fit on the pitch, like literally walking the pitch with us. And I got a scar on my finger, like just there. He as he went down, I caught my finger and in his mouth, because I was trying to turn him over, and he bit my finger, and he was literally bleeding, and he was quite deep. But we got him on his side, and John was brilliant, to be fair. He was epilepsy trained and stuff, and he came around, met to call his mum and stuff. But then obviously we won the game, and we just got off. So obviously the excitement started again. I was like, "Marcus, you calm down now. Sit down over there and drink some water." Brilliant. I mean that. But again, it was just the club as one. You just had the fans together, the players were together. It was just such good fun. Training in a car park was something which I'd never done before. We had the centre forwards on the top floor, midfielders, defenders, and the goalkeepers at the bottom with Mickey. It was mental. Training on an old AstroTurf, and then have to run up to the road, just like crazy gang stuff. And some top nights out with the boys and that as well. And Debsy and the boys keeping them going. It was a proper season.
Fantastic. I didn't know any of those stories, I got to admit. The one that is spoken about regularly with us is an infamous tale of you and a few teammates trying to check into the wrong airport for the trip to Iceland. Now, after all these years, your opportunity to clarify, are you taking the blame for that one?
100%, yeah. 100%. I tried to style it at the time, but oh my God. When you think back to it, I just thought, like, yeah, I said to my wife just now, I said, like, I've got to come clean on this. I've seen the list of questions you sent through, and I was like, I'm going to have to come clean. But no, what it was, the story was we all flew out together, and then there was 2 flights coming back, and there was 5 seats on the early flight, and then the rest of the team flew back on the later flight. And they said, oh, well, there's 5 from Cardiff. You drive up, and you can leave your car there. The club will pay for it, blah, blah, blah. And then you can fly back early the next day after the game. So maybe me, I always drove. I never didn't. We always drove away games. I'd always drive. So I said, I'll drive. And I always remember I bought it from Darren's brother-in-law, actually, in Cowdor Cars. I had a 1.2 Corsa, and I always remember it was a silver one. So we parked the case in the back at Cardiff Gate, and off we went. And it said Stansted we were flying from. And I'm going to say at the time, I thought Luton and Stansted were the same airport. But to be fair, I'd probably tell a white lie there. But we pulled into Luton Airport and got ourselves parked up, bags off, everything. So Darren rings us. So we're just arriving. Where are you? I said, oh, we're in by the EasyJet, whatever it is, sort of check-in desk. We're playing cards. So as I put the phone down, I remember Mick Harford, who was manager of Luton at the time, and then Russell Perrett, who I played with at Cardiff, walked in with a Luton team. I thought, that's strange. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where are they off? So I said, well, they're obviously in Luton, so they're going somewhere. So I see him, oh, yeah, Pez, how you doing, mate? You okay? And he's like, yeah, where are you off? I said, oh, we're playing in Iceland. He said, don't fly to Iceland from here. I'm like, oh, they must do, mate. I said, he says, no. He said, we're off to Scotland. They haven't got many flights this morning. Look on the board there. And I was like, ah. And I said, oh, we're in the wrong place, and this is Stansted. He went, no, this is Luton. And I was like, oh, my days. So anyway, back to the lads. I said, lads, we're in the wrong place. So literally, it was like Scarpa, get your bags, took them back in the car. And you can imagine I think it was a 10:30 flight, and this was like 9:15. Oh. Mate, honestly, I've never seen a 1.2 diesel go so quick in all my life. And we literally left it outside the departures lounge, literally run in, and the car got towed. It was like 500 quid to get it out when we got back. We literally made the flight by 5 minutes, literally. It was, I'll own up, it was my fault, yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, my God. I can't imagine. What was Darren like then? Was he...
He's calm as always, super calm. Like, I said, I promise you we'll get there. He goes, I trust you. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, but he was brilliant. He was super calm. We got on a plane. I remember John Daniels, he was as red as that shirt behind you, mate. He looked like he was stressed. Like he was there. You had Winston, Barry Vaughan, they all looked stressed out. And but we got there in the end. So yeah, it was just in the nick of time. But cost me a few quid when I had to get it back.
Worth it to play out there in Europe, I'm sure. But coming after that, then not long afterward, the internet tells me that you've signed a record-breaking deal with the club. I think it was the first ever 5-year contract at the time, a Welsh Premier League. You know, I would probably say it still stands to this day as well. So the start of the next chapter at the club. But of course, Darren left midway through the autumn, and Derek Brazil came in. What was life under Derek like?
Yeah, different. I mean, being a coach myself now, and I've been a manager and stuff. You know, like managers want to bring their own stamp on things, and you know, it was strange because Derek's wife at the time was teaching my daughter at the school in Cardiff. So I knew Derek, I knew of him, I knew who he was, and we were sort of like paths would cross and stuff. And then he took the role. Obviously, when Darren left, I was captain. So I'd been captain for nearly a season and a half, and club captain before that. And I think Derek wanted an outfield player as a captain. Did it in a strange way. It was a good story, but a bad story. He gave me a day's work. I was had a day off, and he said, "Do you fancy coming to Man United and running a trip with me and being a chaperone?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." So I went up to Manchester, and he sort of sat me down on the bus and said, "Oh, just to let you know, I'm going to take the captaincy off you as well." I was like, Oh, brilliant. So I was like, give me a day's work but took the captaincy off me. But no, look, I understand he had his reasons for doing it. He wanted someone a bit further up the pitch to communicate and stuff. And probably that sort of, made me think then was my sort of time somewhere else, because, not so much that, but like, how do I sort of go from being a leader then to like not having the captaincy? And yeah, it was a difficult situation, but I still carried on playing for him for a short period of time. And then, he brought in some of his own players and stuff, and the club went down a different direction. And then we'd played at Rill, I think 2 weeks before they'd put in a sort of an inquiry about me. And to be honest, I probably played one of the games of my life up there. And I think it was Bobby Bryers actually made his debut up there, if I remember, because they got his name wrong. They called him Bobby Brown instead of Bobby Bryers. It still sticks out. Every time I see him, I call him Bobby Brown. And he replaced someone, and they said number 14, Bobby Brown. It was very funny at the time. But then I had a good game that game, and then John Else inquired at the club, and I think obviously being on that long-term contract, and I probably was one of the better paid players at the time. It probably gave Derek a little bit more of a budget to play with, and it probably gave me an opportunity to further my career elsewhere. So luckily enough I did, and we qualified for Europe that season with Rill, and I won the league the following year. So every cloud, I suppose. But no, like I said, I had a great time at Haverfordwest over those years that was there, and certainly is a club that's close to my heart because they gave me a chance to play first team football regularly. They also gave me the opportunity to captain. I also represented Wales C whilst I was there as well, which is another sort of international honour, which is great to have as a player. And I met some really good people down there. I met some friends for life as well.
Yeah, but like I said, you very well thought of, and there's plenty of stories that still to come, perhaps in the history of Lee Kendall and Haverfordwest County. You've spoken very much about, you've always been a leader, and you had good role models, perhaps to pick up parts of, managers we've spoken about, etc. So I think it was probably fate you went up once you did hang the gloves up to get into coaching as a goalkeeper coach or a first team coach. Am I right in saying the first time you got into it full time was with Sheffield United?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, it was just the luck of the draw, really. It was crazy how it came about. And football, I believe in fate and believe in luck in football as well as sort of ability as well. And I'd captained Wales youth teams, as you said. And obviously when I was in the 21s, obviously Guy Speed was the captain of Wales. And we sort of built up a good friendship, really, sort of like strange friendship, really. I like sort of a younger pro, but I'd always sort of like being in and around it. Sometimes we'd always share the same hotel, because back in those days, 21s would play on a Friday, and then the first team would play on a Saturday. So you'd always be in and around the first team. And, we sort of like crossed paths, sort of times after and stuff. And then my first part-time goalkeeping coaching role was through Wales under-15s. And Ocean Roberts was leading the Wales under-15s Victory Shield team. And he asked me, and my dad had just passed away. And I went back to university, and I wanted to be a PE teacher, which I eventually got my degree and and eventually got that anyway. But so he asked me to come and coach. So he's down at Sophia Gardens, and Speedo's son, Ed, was part of a pre-camp. And I bumped into him, and he's like, "Oh, Kens, how you doing, mate? You okay? How's things? Didn't realise you were coaching, blah, blah, blah." And then sort of said, "Look, we're looking for a goalkeeping coach at Chef U. I know you. I can vouch for you. Would you like to put in for it?" And I said, "When does it start?" He said, "Next week." I was like, "Oh, wow." So I never moved so quickly in football. So I remember we played Northern Ireland with the Victory Shield team out in Northern Ireland. I flew out on the camp to the club, sorted my contract out, flew back, and then flew back to Wales and straight up to Sheffield. And obviously Speeds was up there as a player before that, and then he got the Wales job and went back to Wales. And I eventually stayed to the end of the season. But during that after he left, he sort of called me and said, "Look, can you come and see me at Vanguard Way, which is obviously was the FAW headquarters, and on your day off?" I was like, "Okay." So I didn't know what to think he wanted to see me about. So I said, "Right, better bring Ella, my daughter, with me." And she said, "Yeah, bring her." So she always remembers it now. She's only tiny, but obviously, like, he's such a lovely man. And just said, walked into his office, and I think I'd only ever been to Vanguard Way probably for a couple of disciplinaries that had been in. So didn't really go in there very often. But he's asked her, "Oh, do you want to sit in the big chair, the manager's chair?" And she sat in there and she was spun around and stuff. And he said, "Look, what I want you to do," I said, "Look, I think a lot of you, I want you to come in with the Wales and the 21s and do the goalkeepers with Gareth Williams and Robert Page, and Dave Adams as well at the time." So they were on the coaching staff. So I just couldn't believe it. He obviously thought a lot of me. I've got a lot. I owe a lot to Gary for the opportunities he gave me, and obviously it went on from strength to strength. Then with him at the helm, he set it up for everyone. And as I said, tragic, which events that led to his death. And just you don't know what's going through people's minds, and but I owe a lot to Gary and for what he did for me and my family, really.
Yeah, like I'm a big fan of his. One of his first Wales playing shirts actually is the one on the wall behind me. It's one of my most cherished possessions, that one.
I think he's, like I said, he was just a good bloke all round, just a great guy, and I learned so much and lots of opportunities off the back of him supporting me, and lots of things like my daughter remembers that for life, and I always remember when the call came through. I knew exactly where I was and where I was stood, and I was working for Cardiff at the time, and devastating news. But again, he's always in people's hearts and minds.
Definitely. You say that things happen by fate and things like that. I completely agree. If he hadn't have been down there that day, his son hadn't have been there, who knows, things would have been differently on paths, isn't it? And the impact, as everybody knows, the impact he's had on Welsh football is transformed everything, didn't it? I think, and put us on the path. We mentioned Rob Page, Dave Adams. Those guys perhaps aren't in the roles they're in, or have been in over the last few months and years without Gary Speed's influence, maybe.
100%. No, I totally agree. Great opportunities for people. Was a people's person and supported people with their development. And what more do you want from a leader? That's a real leader. That's someone that's led by example, but also supports people that want to go on and further their careers. And I can't thank him enough.
Another great leader for you to pick, their best attributes and things like that and learn from. It carries on. Your CV is stacked. It's full of ridiculous opportunities over your years. You mentioned that Cardiff, I think Bristol City. The big one that stood out for me, I obviously was aware of it, was the English women's national team as well, at a time where I would say you're probably one of very few Welsh representatives at any World Cup at that point. Prior to the Welsh men's national team getting to a tournament back then, you went on to claim third place and a bronze medal at the World Cup. Ridiculous achievement that, looking at that squad, there's some household names there who were in that squad too. What was that experience like?
Not great. Like I said, you take your opportunities and when they come, and I was lucky that, I built up a relationship sort of with Mark, the head coach, over a short period of time through Dave Adams, actually. And he was lucky enough to get the role, and he asked me if I'd go in and, to go to a World Cup and a European Championships and claim bronze is up there, something which you savor for life. And lots of different other opportunities as well off the back of that. But I would say that's up there, but lots of other opportunities which in coaching, you move on quite quickly and you find other opportunities. And there's been loads of other highlights, really.
Fantastic. Well, it was a matter of time, I think, before you landed yourself a top job then, being the number one. A great first taste of it, I suppose, with your day job at the University of South Wales. Successful, undefeated season, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, I mean, it was off the back of getting a good recruitment group together, really. The team was stacked with Welsh Premier League and Welsh Premier League or Cymru Prem players. You had Ashley Morris in goals. Left back was Kane Owen. You had centre back Lewis Baldwin played for Barry and Penabont. Joe Evans was at Cardiff Met. you had Miles John, who played for Haverfordwest.
Yeah.
Gerard, who played for Barry and Llanelli. Mikey George, Clayton Green, Liam Edwards at Cambrian, Cameron Keach and David Thomas, both at Cambrian. Like real, obviously played for Haverfordwest as well. Like a team which, like you don't really need a lot of coaching.
Sounds like a Wales C squad, that.
Yeah, you put them on a pitch. But at the time, we were up against a real strong Cardiff Met group who were flying as well. Obviously, Cardiff Met's first team played on a Saturday, but they used the Bucks, which is a Wednesday, as part of their team as well. And I remember beating them we beat them in a semi-final. I think they had Will Fuller, Bradley Woolridge, Elliot Evans,
that cross,
Roscoe, just unbelievable. So we played them, and we won the final then in Nottingham against Hartbury, which was great. I mean, that was my first sort of taste as a lead, which is very different to supporting, and you got to take a different approach to it. But I enjoy that side of it as well as the others. Coaching's coaching, really, isn't it?
Definitely. Well, success continued as well. I think your opportunity to come back to the Cymru Leagues with Barrytown United soon came after. Coincidentally, our next opponents this weekend, which we'll come on to, but they've just been relegated, I think. I think the timelines I'm right in saying, just relegated from the Cymru Prem. So never easy to bounce back, particularly in the Cymru South. It's a brutal league, as we're seeing this year. It's a really hotly contested one. But you did just that in your first season, your only season in charge at Jenner Park, a league and cup double. I've seen online some great images of you celebrating those achievements. That must have been, is that up there then, one of your career highlights to date?
Yeah, the best, yeah. Absolutely the best, because, I came back into that league. They'd just been relegated. The team was a good team, a great team. You had players. We didn't really lose anyone from the relegated team. And obviously Gav was there for the initial part, the first few games, and then he obviously got his role with Cardiff City. But again, it's difficult taking over from someone that's been there for so long, 15 years. And also having played there as well myself as a player, sometimes that's difficult going back. I had a couple of spells there as coaching, in between and stuff. But to step up and actually be at a club like Barrytown, a huge club in the Cymru Prem, an iconic team in Wales, So to take that role, I was certainly privileged. It was a tough start. First game, Welsh Cup, we lost at home against Gresford, and I thought, oh my word, here we go. I could hear the groans already. Is he the right guy for the job? And then, luckily enough, the boys were unbelievable. A good coaching staff that was with me. David Williams, who's now assistant manager at Newport. Matt James, who's now gone on to Cardiff, who's the goalkeeping coach. Cozzy, who was around then, who was an iconic kit man around with lots of advice. And we never lost a game. We won the treble, actually, if you count the North and the South. So we won the league, the cup, and the North v South game. And we did it really well. For me, it was probably a good learning curve on how to deal with players, how to deal with pressure, how to deal with myself. And I said, I think I won Manager of the Year, got Manager of the Month 4 times in a row, all those kind of things, which, all right, they're great plaudits when you look back and you've got them up on the wall and stuff, but you don't really know what you're doing to start with in regards to not knowing what you're doing, but you're just constantly on a hamster wheel. And it's because it's game after game after game. And people might laugh, but it is pressure. It is pressure, even at this level, it's to win, it's important. And we did that really well. And unfortunately, in the summer, there was conversations which, didn't go, either way. And I decided to move on. And I got a lot of time for the people at Barry, still have. But unfortunately, sometimes things don't work out, and I had to step away and moved on to further my career. And wish them well, and they've done ever so well. So I'm pleased for them, and obviously two former teams against each other on Saturday. So as a goalkeeper, you probably hope for a 0-0 draw.
We will come on to that. I got a couple of other. You mentioned that you had an opportunity to go down the road, I suppose, to Pontypridd United, but it seamlessly brings me into talk. You've mentioned your daughter Ella, who was playing at Pontypridd United ladies section at the time. The two of you put your heads together, I suppose, and did some really good work for charity. Your running exploits. You tell us about it. How did it come about, and what exactly did you do?
Yeah, it was strange to go back to the Ponty bit, really, off the back of Barry. Was like, obviously, stepped away, took some time out, and then realised that, Saturdays needed to be dealt with, because this is why we did the run. And just helped Stokesy out, who I knew. I did some goalkeeping coaching there. But then, like I said, some time out of the game after that, after Ponty, and me and my daughter Ella, in some unforeseen circumstances, really. My mum got diagnosed with cancer November before last, and it was a real sort of aggressive cancer, stage 4. And by the way, she's still with us now, and she got diagnosed sort of with only to live 6 months, really, and she has fought it unbelievably well. She's still alive and kicking. She's still very weak and weary, but she's still around, and we spent last Christmas and this Christmas together, so it's really positive. But we decided to do something in regards to raise awareness and help support cancer research, and why not do it in a Cymru Prem? Cymru Prem's got 12 teams. She was playing for Ponty ladies at the time. I wasn't doing anything on a Saturday on the Saturday or the weekends, so I tried to keep myself busy, and we decided that we were going to do a marathon over 3 days around the Welsh Prem grounds. And I don't think the running was too much of a problem, because it was obviously broke up over a few days, but it was more the traveling. It was incredible. Like, we started on a Friday in Carnarvon, and we did that, and then we worked our way across the top. We were joined by every manager, more or less, of every club, as much as we could. Lots of fans turned out, friends, people that were living in Telford that I knew, that came across to the TNS run.
Wow.
But yeah, the last 2 days, I mean, the Saturday and the Sunday were hard. Like, we went Aberystwyth was our first one on the Saturday. We stayed overnight in Aberystwyth. Then we did Aber, Bala, Newtown, and then we went all the way down to Haverfordwest.
Yeah.
Saturday night at 7 o'clock. It was incredible. Imagine traveling from Newtown to there and then after running 2.2 miles. But they looked after us well, and you don't realise how big that pitch is down there, mate. I stood beneath the sticks for 4 years, mate, and didn't realise how big it is. But and then we finished off then an early one in Barry on the Sunday, and then we went up through the South Wales Club, finished at Ponty, which is Ella's club then at the time, and we raised I think it was over £4,000, which the people from the Welsh football community came out and supported us, and it was actually good fun, because Ella was just saying, "Oh, Dad, you told me that story on the way up." Because I remember when we stopped there, and that person was pints, and he did that, and he did that, and it was just reminiscent. And you don't realise how much it takes out of players, the travelling in that league. It's brutal, It is, because that's what makes the league so great, because you're up and down Wales and make so many memories, but it's hard, when you've got to travel on a Saturday morning to North Wales and put a performance in. Especially back in our day when you didn't really have overnight stays and stuff, and probably the funding wasn't there as much as it is now. You don't realise how hard it is.
I completely agree with the travelling. I know those grounds well, know the distances involved in that. So I got to say, congratulations to the both of you. It's such a lovely cause, and the story, and the fact that your mum is still enjoying Christmases with you and things like that. That's really, really nice to hear that. And long may it continue.
I just spoke to my mum about it now, actually. She said, "Oh, don't forget to tell him the story about Marcus." I was like, "Oh, not another one." It's a good story. So my dad had just retired from the police. Tell lie. He was in the police, he changed job. And my sister had moved away to university. So it was the first time they ever had an empty house themselves. So what they did was, they said, "We're going to travel now, and we're going to buy a caravan." So they bought a Tourer, and they'd been a couple of short trips, and they said, "Right, we're going to go down to St. David's." And stay down on a pitch, and they spoke to David Hughes, who had an area down there which they were going to site it on and whatnot. Anyway, they drive down and they get to Haverfordwest, and my dad said, "Ring me when you get to Haverfordwest." So he rang me and he said, "I said, everything all right?" He went, "Well, I can't really speak at the moment." He said, "But no." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, ring me back when you can." I thought everything like panicking.
Yeah.
What had happened was they'd driven down, got to Morrison's outside the ground,
Let's say that.
pulled into some petrol to fill the car up, and basically, who stood on the forecourt waiting for his mum to pick him up? Our friend Marcus. "Oh, it's Kendall's mum and dad. Mark, Kane, how are you?" Came over. He said, "You must come to my house for tea." So my mum's one of them that can never say no. And at the time, then Marcus's mum pulled up. "Hello, Kane. Hello, Mark. How are you? You must come to ours for tea."
Oh, brilliant.
My dad's now got rid of me, got rid of my sister. All he wants to do is go have a nice weekend away with my mum in a caravan. But what had happened, they'd driven back to Marcus's, and my dad had bumped the caravan on someone's wall, right, going around the bend. And he phoned me up. He phoned me back. I said, "I've got some time now." I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Well, met Marcus. Couldn't believe they've offered us for tea. And like, all I want to do is go away for the weekend. Mum can't say no, like she can't. She's 2 bottles of wine deep with his mum. Right? I'm talking about football with Marcus, and I bumped the bloody caravan." So, oh, mate, honestly. But like, I love it because they're just part of the club, like, you know, and he was just such a great guy. And I still speak to him every now and then. You know, I give him a call and stuff, and I'm glad that he's doing well and stuff.
Yeah.
And after everything
he's doing well. He listens to our commentaries and he gets involved in everything, Marcus. He's such a he's an asset to the club, you know, because he often speaks, excuse me, about yourself and every other past player. He knows where they've gone on to, knows the clubs. He's often been in a Barry jacket, and I'm putting that directly down to your influence there as well.
Well, he sports Cardiff, Barry, and Haverfordwest. I don't know whether it's me, but you know, but he's such a good kid. And again, like I said, all the fans down there, there's some you know, people that you think and who support the club, volunteers and stuff. You know, Winston, Kenny Ellis. Kenny was brilliant. Like Kenny used to like try and give me a £5 out of his own money when I'd keep a clean sheet. Like, and he's just such a good guy. Like, and you know, Mickey Ellis and just loads of people, Barry, all the boys that just made that club what it was, and what it is now, really. And it's great that, you know, they're doing so well.
Yeah, many of them actually came out. Obviously, we returned home to the Ogi Bridge Meadow over the Christmas period. 9 points from 9 as well over the festive season. 2 of those being back at the Meadow. Superb attendances. Many people from yesteryear, I'll say, you know, came back from perhaps haven't been well enough maybe over the last few years, came back, and it was just great to see lots of those faces back at the Meadow. But yeah, it's got onto the current Barry Town United this weekend. We're back on our travels away at Jenner Park. We'll be doing live commentary for those unavailable to travel, but you've got over 20 years, I suppose, of being in and around the Cymru Leagues then. What are your thoughts on it, the Cymru Premier at the moment? Do you think, you know, is it going in the right direction for you?
Certainly is from when I played. It's chalk and cheese. And I haven't been in and around it for a long time. Certainly the trajectory of how it's gone is fantastic. I think the change is welcomed, if I'm honest. Personally, I think the 12 teams gets a little bit stale. You know, I've been involved in it a long time. I remember playing Cardiff Met 6 times in 1 year once, and you know, that's in 2 cups and 4 games in the league, and you know, it can become very samey. I think the circulation of players as well become very samey. You know, I got to take my hat off to Rob and stuff, how he's done things down there, you know, with bringing people in from away and housing them and stuff like that. You know, that could be a way forward now for non-league clubs. You know, that's certainly a way in which, and those hybrid models of training at different times and stuff is going to bring the league forward. Obviously, the funding which has become available now from TNS doing so well, you know, is only going to bring clubs stronger. And I think that, you know, the coaches in the league have become stronger. You know, you've only got to look at bringing Pens in from Hull. You know, like he's been working in the Championship. You know, to recruit someone like that Steve Jenkins, who's been in the game a long time, and worked at the top level at Barry, like the 2 teams that you're playing on Saturday for you guys, like coaches with an unbelievable experience and playing background. But also within the league, you've still got the stalwarts that have developed themselves and have got a way of recruiting strong players. And yeah, the league is very strong. And from my perspective, I think when the change comes and it brings more teams in, I think you'll go from strength to strength, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you mentioned Steve Jenkins and Kends, obviously there. I was in earshot after we played them at our home game. It was in the LHP Stadium in Carmarthen. After the game in the bar, listening to those two proper footballing men, and talking about the game, talking about upcoming opponents and the league in general. Those two going head to head again this weekend. I won't ask you for a score prediction, but what are your thoughts on both Barry and Haverfordwest seasons to date then?
They're doing well, aren't they, both? I mean, you've only got to look firstly at Haverfordwest, that they're up in third, and they're, like you just said, some of the form that they've got is incredible. I mean, it does, when you keep the same manager for a long period of time, that certainly bodes well with your recruitment, and you get to build a way of playing. And Kends has certainly got that. He's very lucky to have talented staff with him as well, and obviously bought a good core group of players. And when you've qualified for Europe and you've had those experiences, certainly like I did when I was at Haverfordwest, it brings the group together stronger, doesn't it? And certainly the way in which they've been playing will have stood them in good stead to secure that top 6 very comfortably for Haverfordwest. And I think from what Jenks has done, again, he took over at a tough time when I left, in a short period of time to turn around recruitment, and he's certainly showing now in the second season that he's got that recruitment element to his game, and also his coaching side to it. I always speak to Jenks probably once a week still, and it's nice to hopefully he's on the touchline this week, because I know he served a couple of bans recently. But we laugh about it, and the refereeing in the league slightly could be another conversation one day. But no, that certainly has improved from when I played. I know that, but two good clubs. 2 clubs that are close to my heart in regards to playing and certainly coaching at Barry. And but like I said, from my perspective, I'm hoping for a 0-0 draw, and hopefully that's right on the fence.
Yeah, and I agree. What Steve Jenkins has done there, to be honest, it surprised me somewhat this year. They've had some big wins, particularly the one Nomads away was a real eye opener. They've done really well. He's got a great squad there, so it's not going to be easy at all this weekend. And mathematically, yes, we're in the top 6, but Barry have still got an outside chance, I think. I think they do need results to go their way elsewhere, but it'd be great to see another South Wales club in the top 6, I'll be honest, not only to avoid massive travel for us, but it just shows, traditionally, I think it's been the North Wales club, who've dominated the top 6. Yes, there's been representation along the way, but, Met look likely to be up there now. Penabont are high flying this season. Ourselves, it's on an upward trajectory for the South clubs as well. So yeah, fingers crossed for an entertaining game this weekend. And you'll probably be keeping an eye on things in that game. But you're back yourself. You're back in the dugout. You were firstly interim manager at Bath City, playing the Vanarama National League South, I believe. But now confirmed as assistant manager. You've turned the ship around, I think. Some really good results since you've been in the hot seat. Great Christmas period for you. I saw 3 wins from 3 over Christmas, all with clean sheets, which as a goalie, I'm sure you were over the moon with. A narrow 1-0 loss last time out, I think. But yeah, as I said, you've really pulled up the league now. You must be happy with how it's going up there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm lucky, like you said at the top of the show, I'm lucky to be in a really good day job. I don't really envisage myself going back into full-time football at all. So part-time football is key for me. And I've probably used all my lives up in Wales at the minute with the clubs I've been at. So an opportunity came up in August to go there. Again, it's luck, not very nice to fall upon how it happened, but I went there as goalkeeping coach of it. I didn't know the manager personally, but it came up through a mutual friend, and got the role as goalkeeping coach there. And unfortunately, the results didn't really stack up towards the, over those 12 weeks that I was there, and as what happens in football, it's a brutal game. And Jerry had been there 7 years, and and unfortunately lost his job. And having signed a contract to the end of the season, the club asked me would I come in and steady the ship, and there was no one else. And I was just saying that whether that I did that out of like there was no one else, or they really thought I could do it. But whichever way you want to look at it. But no, it went well. I was lucky enough over the short period of time that I brought Christian Edwards in, the Cardiff Met ex-manager, with me, who's currently not working on a Saturday, to support me, and he was excellent in his support over at Bath. And we picked up some good results. I mean, the difficulty in that league is that the top 8, or there's 8 teams that are full time.
Okay.
And the rest of the teams are part time. So you're always battling against strong budgets, full time players. And my first 3 games were against 3 of the full time teams. So Maidstone had just got relegated from the league above, the National League. We were holding them 3-2 until the 94th minute and drew 3-3. And then we lost to Eastbourne away in that Stormbird 1-0, which was incredible how the game was on. I don't know. And that was the 95th minute. Then we won at Salisbury, and then we played Bournemouth, who came down last year, and we lost in the 92nd minute. So if all the games had finished at 90 minutes,
you'd be all right.
Well, all right. But luckily enough, after that, results have picked up, and obviously Darren's coming now. Darren Way, who's the manager of the club. The club were really happy with how it went and how I supported the players, and the players were really happy with how it went, and they wanted to make me a assistant manager, and obviously with Darren's blessing, and that's gone well. I've really got on well with him over the few weeks I've known him. I don't think it's 2 weeks yet, 10 days. He's a manager with excellent experience. He'd actually played with Kends at Yeovil. Actually, we were talking about it the other day, because he was manager of Yeovil for 4 years, but also played there for over 20 years. So just a really good guy, someone I can learn off. I want to continue working in football to the highest level I can. I enjoy not doing it. I don't enjoy not doing anything on a Saturday, which is important, and it keeps your mind fresh, and it keeps your coaching going. And I'm lucky enough to have a pro license, and I'm in that caliber, which is quite very limited, in certain coaching elements. So to work at a level just 2 leagues below the Football League is a really good standard. Again, punching yourself against full-time teams weekly is a challenge, and it's a good challenge. And I'm really pleased with where I am at the minute. And it's a nice game against Chelmsford on Saturday at home, which isn't too much of a travel. I've got to say, the travel in this league is probably as brutal as the Cymru Prem.
I was going to ask you that.
We got Truro away on a Tuesday night, which is in Cornwall, and then you can go as far across as like Chelmsford and Aveley. So I mean, it could be Bangor or Carnarvon or wherever he used to go on North Wales. Terrible, but there's much of a muchness really. But I'm enjoying it.
Good. Brilliant. You say about the gaffer there with Kends' connection. Both Kends and Waggy wanted to be remembered to him, because when I said on the weekend at our Britain Ferry game that I was chatting with you, they both had a story or two about Darren over the years as well. So
he would have been at Swansea when he Waggy, I suppose. So I mean, the 2 great guys by they just mentioned, like just top football people. Like every time I see Kends, we laugh, because we were one of the 2 goalkeepers in the Wales Sea for I don't know, 3 years. We just laugh. We used to room together and stuff, just laugh. Good fun, like really good fun. And I don't like a beer at all. Neither does Kends.
Oh no, not at all.
We got really well, And Waggy's just a great guy, just such a good bloke, wealth of knowledge. That's I've got to be honest. You're only as good as your number 2 at times, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And I think Waggy's excellent with player development, excellent with supporting Tony, and you've got a good balance down there. That's hence the reason why you're doing so well.
Definitely, I totally agree. We're very lucky to have him at the helm. there'll no doubt be an extra few eyes now looking from the west of Wales, looking out for your results at Bath City going forward. So before we wrap up, though, there's one last thing before we do. I want to spring it on you, although many people will probably be expecting this, having just listed your history with the club, your achievements and your long-time association, most notably being that man in the sticks for the club's first European adventure. This year, don't know whether you know, we are celebrating our 125th anniversary of the club. And as part of the milestones, we want to honour certain individuals and groups who have made the significant impacts on and off the field, I will say, in your case. It's a great pleasure and privilege for me to inform you that you are the latest addition to our club's Wall of Fame. The first goalkeeper up there as well, amongst the most recent inductees, Derek Brazil, Darren Brace, European teammate Timmy Hicks, and just over the Christmas period, Mr. Christopher O'Sullivan, which I'm sure you know as well. So congratulations, Lee.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, yeah, it did get sprung up on me, actually. I didn't know that. You didn't put that in your questions that you said. Yeah, taken aback, really. I mean, yeah, it was a club that I spent a lot of time at, and built up a lot of good relationships. And that's amazing news for myself and my family. Yeah, to be the only goalkeeper up there, I'm sure there'll be a few more down the line, but to be the first one is brilliant. And I'm sure there'll be a few. I know you mentioned Sully. I didn't mention him earlier on. He was another player, by the way, that was incredible for us that season as well, and top guy. So many to remember, and I'm sure if you can get everyone together one day, it'd be great to see everyone. But no, that's amazing. I'll have to get down and watch a game definitely on a Friday night and see what the new ground looks like or the new pitch looks like. And no, that's class. That's really good. I'm sure you've got a few more lined up, because I could definitely recommend a few, but at least for the playing and not for the stories.
We'll save them for when we meet up. We'll go through some of those stories. But yeah, no, listen, it's really well deserved. And like you said, whenever you can, I know you're a busy man, but we look forward to hosting you back at the Ogi Bridge Meadow. We get you officially on the wall. As I said, Barry Vaughan is heavily involved in helping me out with this. He knows the club's history long before my time at the club, and he's looking forward to saying a few words about you, and he has done so far. For everyone who's been inducted, he's been at the forefront giving a speech at the clubhouse after the game, and he did say, when I mentioned it to him, he's really looking forward to spilling the beans on your time.
Tell him I still got the receipt for the clamp from Stansted Airport.
We can frame it. We'll frame it and put it up in the clubhouse, that one.
Oh, brilliant. And thanks for inviting me on. You do a great job, by the way. This is, something which, many clubs don't do. And I think, it's certainly something which takes up your time. I know you're obviously busy as well. And, I think on behalf of the people that have been on, I don't know whether a lot of people have said it, but we'd like to thank you as well. Because for us, it's reminiscing over times which, you forget about, and, you sprung upon you, and you start talking again. And, you don't really see people from one year to the next. And, but for you to actually do this and allow me and allow us to talk about things is amazing. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. I got to be honest, I love doing it. I enjoy listening to the stories and hearing about things that happen. I've been associated with the club 12 years myself now. And to hear about the stories from 20 years ago, it's great for me. I would be an avid listener if I wasn't in the fortuitous position to be hosting this. So, yeah, no, I appreciate your words, Lee. Best of luck for Bath City for the rest of the season, mate. We'll be a lot more eyes from the west looking over the border and seeing how you get on. And like I said, hopefully see you in person at one of the upcoming fixtures. Yeah. And, look forward to having a beer and a couple of those stories.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And again, good luck Saturday. Like I said, obviously 0-0 draw, but good luck for the rest of the season. And hope you're again for you guys again.
Top man. Cheers, Kens. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.